Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my very great pleasure as a more self-proclaimed chairman of this session to humbly moderate the panel we'll have now. As you can see, the title is quite complex, but I guess that will mostly speak about applied artificial intelligence. So we are in line with what we talk about during these all 3 days of the Congress. However, the title of the Congress is Futurist of the Year. But we shouldn't be only focused on this year, but we have to look towards our future. And the future are also the futurists of the future. And I think I won't be mistaken by saying that we have two perfect examples of future of academia with us on this stage today. And I think we would like to ask them, what's the role of AI-based tools in their research, and are they worried that AI will replace them as researchers soon, or will it happen in a future that's probably to which point we won't survive? So let's start with Nikola, who does her PhD in astrophysics at the University of Rhode Island. So yeah, what's your viewpoint regarding use of AI in your field of research?
Right, so thank you, Jakub. So as Jakub said, I do my PhD at Rhode Island. So my field is astrophysics, black holes, very broadly speaking. And yeah, AI is widely used in the field of astrophysics. We use it to spot black holes. As it was said during this conference, the data sets are huge. It's incredibly difficult for a human eye to spot everything, to match patterns. So yes, it is used. Gravitational wave strains, even early detections of mergers. But there are aspects of astrophysics which, at least now, and I remain skeptical that for a very long time, or at least some time, will not get replaced, which is, so as a presenter said before, I do general relativistic magnetohydrodynamics, which is a very fancy and complicated way of saying fluid dynamics and with magnetic field and with gravity, black holes really, and some material around it. So to do that, you need to really understand the physics. And as our AI specialist said over a few days, AI has its own way of understanding the data, and we don't really know what it means when it produces the results. So it does excellent pattern matching, and we do use surrogate models when we analyze, let's say, gravitational waves, or when we want to have early detections, and we need huge data sets, which in astronomy, that's precious. We have huge data sets from astronomy, so early detections, mergers, great. As it was said before, low-level coding, that's used in everyday work. Literature review, sure, but numerical relativity, GR research, astrophysics research, black hole physics, fluid dynamics, very kind of hardcore plasma physics, I think that still needs human touch, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon, up until the moment that AI will be able to discover new physics. And that's very debatable. I mean, I'm not saying no. I'm very open to the idea of new physics being discovered by the AI, and I'm open to a discussion about it. But I remain skeptical about black hole physics per se, because the theoretical models, even how do we describe black holes and everything astrophysics? Mathematical metrics of the space-time, and yes, we can give it to the AI, to the machine learning techniques, but I don't know. In the community that I am at, the researchers that I meet, In the gravitational wave community, yes. In the black hole community, there is a lot of skepticism about whether we will lose jobs because of AI.
Okay, this sounds promising in terms of the fact that probably during the next Congress, I don't know when it will be, maybe next year or in 2 years, we won't see, let's say, an android speaking and thinking as Stephen Hawking, but we'll probably wait for that another 20, 30, or 40 years. That's quite promising that there is still some work to be done after your PhD, but astrophysics is just one of the fields where AI can be used. How it's with economics, which is, let's say, a bit closer to our regular life. I'm not saying that astrophysics is not close, but I guess everybody is worried about not only sometimes the national economy, but also economy of our families. So can AI help us with this matter? So can I ask ChatGPT to create an investment plan for me, or it's not a case, at least in upcoming years?
Technically, you could, yeah, definitely. I mean, AI does present a big opportunity for firms, especially nowadays, to pursue new business ventures or new marketing strategies, let's just say, because every single thing that we are currently learning is changing. AI is progressively changing as we speak. And the issue with that, I think, would be to choose the best AI or the best AI source. I discussed it previously with all this, as many speakers as I could hear, that the issue of OpenAI especially is that we don't know where the data is taken from. And this presents an ethical dilemma as well, because governments can use this to, let's just say, manipulate the market, or just choose to impose some views onto people. And as well, you can make this research yourself. You can look for articles yourself. You can choose the ways you are getting the knowledge from. But I wouldn't especially, I don't think I would actually give AI so much power to decide for yourself.
And do you use any AI-based techniques in terms of research you're doing for your master thesis currently, or it's, let's say, outside of your scope, like in terms of pure research tools that you use for the project you are now conducting?
I currently do my bachelor's degree, actually, but what about it is that I cooperate with entities such as my own university, which is University of Groningen, where I take care of, let's just say, quality of education. But for other projects, for other entities such as firms, I do currently am working on a ChatGPT lookalike, let's just say, that will help students write essays. But it's not going to write essays for them, it's going to help them write essays. So obviously, such a tool is very useful. It's a multi-use tool. But the thing about that is, I do have, first of all, doubts about the ethics, where the data set is taken from. And who am I to judge? Who am I to judge which data set is the best one? Obviously, if you are doing something with AI, it's your responsibility, your own responsibility to take care of the chat, to choose which data set is the best, and that's in the power of programmers. I'm not sure if I'm, at the power to do so, so that's influential. But that's also the case with students using the AI tool, is that they get lazy. I also get lazy. And I turn to ChatGPT to, let's just say, look for homework questions, but sometimes it's more elaborate things. Sometimes I'm very curious about such a topic. And I do not take the effort to think for myself. And I'm very, very scared that in the future it will be the case that some innovative minds, especially as a representative, let's just say, of a new wave of young adults, I do find that we use the AI tools too much. And in the realm of business, I think that is very scary, because supply chains do also take notice of AI. And they see people who are working the supply chains as assets, but as well as liabilities. And nowadays, there are more of liabilities than actual people who are giving a competitive advantage. So this is very scary, because it doesn't truly mean that automatization, let's just say, of the supply chain will necessarily mean that we are more efficient and more ethical because we are using machines. It just means that perhaps the workers that are going to be in the business field are going to get more underpaid because simply you had sweatshops currently in, let's just say, underprivileged situations. But I genuinely think if automatization can instead take their jobs, the people will be more and more, let's just say, eager to get them in the first place. So this is going to pose a big problem. So the intercorrelation of business, economics, ethics, and legislations is very important nowadays. And AI should be a tool, but I think it shouldn't be the main solution to all the problems that we are currently facing.
Many different and complex issues when we came to think what's the role of AI in economics, but I think responsibility here is the common denominator, not only in terms of astrophysics, because we want to have great predictions using the existing theories regarding economy. We want to have informed decision-making, not just based on letting the AI tool to do whatever it tells us. I guess same goes with medicine, especially regarding patient care. It's actually responsibility-centered. However, before I go into talking about medicine, because I have a tendency of turning dialogues to monologues, we are not seeing the left time to the end of the session, and we want to keep the schedule without any delays. So
I'll make sure that it
if
will
this
be
can
on.
be fixed, that will be great. Thank you so much. But speaking about medicine and how AI is used in medicine in terms of research, not only of how we can apply ChatGPT in our daily practice as physicians or as researchers, because that's we already partially covered. It's a common tool for any small tasks that we have to deal on everyday basis. So whether it's revising our emails if English is not our mother tongue, or helping us finish a sentence if we currently have a writer block. But speaking about how AI is used in medicine or medical research, here we can, at least I think we can figure out 3 different groups of problems where AI has now increased use, or maybe where we can identify challenges to use AI. First of all, I think speaking about AI in situations where we have a clear, and you probably might have heard this term, supervised learning situations from previous lectures, but here I mean like in terms of practical problems where a sort of supervised learning scenario happens is, for example, recognition of medical images, both in medical imaging like MRI or CT scans, or use of AI-assisted diagnostic tools for histopathological diagnosis. Here we see that AI performs very well, and usually if we combine a single statistic saying what's the summary success rate, usually there is a slight overperformance of AI-based tool over a physician. But this is quite, maybe I cannot use the word simple, but that's a very clear scenario because we know what's truth, we know what's false. Second domain is definitely what we have shortage of time to focus on is the contact with our patients. So usually, especially in public healthcare, we have around 10 to 15 minutes to speak with a patient, and usually we spend this time by filling in some forms and do paperwork, and the actual conversation with the patient is somehow on the side. So here, tools like generative AI, chat boxes that can exchange information with a patient, gain more knowledge about facts or additional details that might have been not clear for a patient during a medical interview, or maybe the patient was shy of being considered as a person without sufficient knowledge. That also happens. So definitely this is much better source of information, especially if that chat is fine-tuned using the most recent medical knowledge, than random Googling of medical facts and reading comments on Facebook or other social media. And the third domain, which is somehow related to what I personally do in terms of my research, is use of AI for prediction modeling and decision making in medicine, which, and you might understand decision making in medicine as collecting all the evidence we have, combining it with our knowledge we gathered as physicians or practitioners, and then to make a decision based on this complex set of parameters. Let's keep it more in IT vocabulary. And here the problem is that even with classical statistics, the proportion of variability in events that we want to predict or about treatment decisions we want to make is largely unknown. And we see that with the data we have now, classical decision models, for example, if we have a certain calculator of a risk, so if we put several information about our patient, it shows us what's the risk of developing certain health condition after some period of time. And here we see that with the data that we are providing to a classical statistical model and to some sort of, in the older days, for example, neural networks, we see that the prediction performance of both these tools is comparable. So no matter what type of classifier or another regression model we'll use, we cannot really squeeze more from these data sets. So what we really look forward is the fact that with this new revolution with AI, we are also exponentially growing the production of different data we can collect from our patients, and not just using classical contact with a patient, but we have the wearable devices, we have our cell phones which collect million kilobytes of data every day. So we really look forward that if we gain more insight regarding data that we can collect from our patients, we'll be able to really show the potential which lies in AI-based tools. However, as we have discussed during previous sessions in terms of purely research work, there are still gaps in the way how these AI tools, let's say, process our prompts and requests that cannot yet resemble the way of how researchers think. So I think that the perspective is still quite optimistic that we won't be replaced that soon. But speaking about, not thinking about the pessimistic side about being replaced, but looking at the bright side of, being an early career researcher who can use the advantage of such tools as AI tools, but also like using the opportunity that research is international, especially in STEM sciences or in medical sciences, and we cross borders, going to another countries to pursue our degrees and continue our research career. And I think it will be a great opportunity having two esteemed colleagues continuing their both academic and professional career abroad to hear some comments about their path towards starting a researcher career abroad. So let's again start with Nikola. Could you share us some thoughts about starting PhD in US? So just as a small comment, I recall when I first visited United States, I think 2 years before the revolution of AI, when you went to some bookstores in Cambridge, Massachusetts, you could see whole bookshelves of books saying like 10 top-based scenarios of essays that will let you be enrolled into Harvard Med School or Harvard Law School. I guess without these books, we can now ask ChatGPT to write an essay or prepare us to an interview with our potential supervisor. But do you think it's a case, or still you have to be really brilliant and present yourself in that way to be considered as a PhD student in US? What are your advices?
Right. So I suppose I may be a millennial, but I haven't really thought about using ChatGPT, and that may be my fault. That was maybe my mistake that I didn't use ChatGPT to write my application. Maybe I should have. Maybe it would have been better. And definitely, I mean, we've heard in the previous talk that using ChatGPT to do the literature review, to do some kind of query, that's not a crime. We all use literature. We all go through papers. We all use inspiration. A lot of our thoughts are not original thoughts. Yes, we base our research. I mean, okay, it's hard to come up with something novel and with something original. It's really difficult. Every researcher will tell you what's the hardest part of doing research. It's not gaining the basic knowledge. Yeah, that's tough. That's spending all those hours in books, that's difficult. You guys know very well yourself. But the hardest part is the novel idea. So why I'm talking about this? Because writing an application, presenting yourself, applying for a PhD, you have to have some kind of, I'm going to call it, in terms of business, a selling point, some kind of an idea for yourself, some kind of idea for your research. And suddenly, it's not about applying to high school, I want to be a physicist, a doctor, a businessman, an economist. I want to do this research. Why? And I don't want to only study black holes. I want to study black holes. I want to study this particular phenomena with more or less this set of tools and what has been done so far and what's my primary hypothesis. So like in biology in primary school, we looked at how plants grow when we added, I don't know, water and maybe some sugar to it. This is more or less the proposal that you have to write just to some very serious people in some very scary university across the sea or the ocean or wherever you're applying to. So yeah, using any help, it's not a crime, it's not shameful, I don't think it's anything bad. Copy-pasting it, that's probably extremely harmful because even if somehow you get in, you go there, that's going to be very clear that you're in the wrong place. And I don't think, yeah, I don't think people are, I don't think you can deceive them that easily because you usually have to go through some interviewing process before you actually get into some serious university. So my story was that I just, okay, personal advice, and it's, again, not an original thought. That was an advice given to me. You don't apply to a university, you apply to a research group. And that's the whole story. You find the research that you like, you sift through papers, you go to author list, you see where they work, where they do their research, and you apply there. And you don't, again, when you write your application, you don't say, I want to study at Harvard or, I don't know, Cambridge or University of Warsaw. You say, I want to study under this professor and do help with their research and explore this hypothesis. So this is why you don't apply for a university, just for the group. So this is what I did. I chose 2 or 3 universities and the groups within those universities. I applied there to 1 or 2 professors who had research groups. And yeah, and I got in, I went there, and I started my research. And you are it's perfectly okay to change your mind, which was the case for me. I went to Rhode Island, where they do gravitational waves, and after 3 or 4 months, I changed my mind. And I've decided, I don't want to do AGNs anymore, I want to do black holes. And guess what? I've read 5 papers, I've decided that I'm really into it, I reproduced the results, I did a little bit of work and studying, I wrote to, and you think, Harvard and Black Hole Initiative and people who did the first images of black holes, that's so scary, I would never dream of writing to them. You absolutely can. So I emailed people from Black Hole Initiative at Harvard and emailed them, hey, I reproduced your results. They were really cool. I have some hypotheses. Can I come and work with you? And they were like, sure. So I went to, no, that's I'm not a genius. I didn't get into Harvard school. I got into URI, but I get to work with them, which is in a way better because there is no pressure of classes in Harvard, but I still get to work with them, which is amazing because, you know, I get to have classes at URI, which is a great school, but I get to work with scientists at Harvard and have the resources that they have and study with them, and that's great. And meet with all those people and go to their seminars and do great stuff. So that's kind of my road, and that's how I would recommend it, but you do you, I suppose.
And surviving winter in Boston wasn't a disadvantage, you consider?
I survived winters 20-something years ago in Poland, so, you know.
We are used to that. So now moving from US to Netherlands.
Right.
Could you give us some clues about how it looks like in more European setting? Because US tends to be in some points distinct from European academic system.
Definitely. I mean, when I was choosing my major, I definitely looked at the, well, I looked at the university, I looked at what it does. And choosing my major was based on not only the country, because Netherlands is basically the country of capitalism. I was quite interested to work in a business setting, on business, in a city that is remarkable in history for it. So certainly, currently, I do recognize all the opportunities that the University of Groningen, for instance, provides to me. I study international business, but I also do AI and technology. I do society, how it works. I certainly know the ethical implications of everything I do, and I think that's very important when choosing a university. So it teaches you not only how to learn from a book, because you can certainly read a book on your own and you don't need a university for that. It's about the implications and how to apply the knowledge you get into real-life settings, into real-life situations, and even more, how do you inquire further? How do you inquire about the world changing, the future? I think in some cases we tend to stick to everything that's already known because it seems comfortable. It seems like it's going to be to some extent permanent because we grew up in some certain mindset. But genuinely, you need to, in my opinion, choosing a school is very important to shape your future as well. Because if you don't start inquiring from a young age or the age where you just choose a university, an institution which provides inspiration, then where are you going to get it from? Because if you're lucky, you can get it from some role models or just say the closest family members. But in other cases, I think it's better to get it straight from science or scientific sources.
But do you think that always the name provides that? I guess it's more, as Nikola mentioned, that's about people who are there. So, like, moving now a bit to my story, I used to work in US too, actually also at Harvard University at the Chan School of Public Health, which at the time when I arrived in Boston, and I guess it's still true, it's considered as the main, like the source of idea how nutritional epidemiology or study which, or area of research which focuses on the impact of food and nutrients we eat on our health and health risks, health benefits, originated in 1980s, and I think they still continue research initiatives that are state of art considering what's happening in the world. But I think it was still, I of course accept, and I've been very happy to be at this institution, but still I think it was much more about people who work there rather than the institution itself. Like, it's great to see the place, feel the spirit, but still without seeing a supervisor who is not only willing to fund you, but wants to support your career and to spend this 1, 2, 3 years in that particular school. And not only that you should be satisfied after this time that you spend it there, but also whether you have a long-term perspective after spending that time here. Because, of course, being in great places can give you great collaboration opportunities, which probably will be transformed to high-impact papers, to practical applications like patents and so on. But yeah, does it always drive your own inspiration, or it's more about accepting the fact that I'm in an elite place and it gives this responsibility from my side to be creative and, yeah, looking for inspiration?
Obviously, organizations are shaped by people inside the organizations. It's organizational culture as well as the implication that it has. So definitely, I do believe that the people are more important in this fact. They're more important because they're the people you learn from or you grow with. But certainly, when you look at the whole organization as just an organization, you take fact of different dimensions that are given, the opportunities, the quality of education. Currently, they are following the UN, basically the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So you take into considerations which are, well, the most important to you, and that's what Mr. Tarsolas actually said in his lecture about pluralism. You have to take all of that into consideration and make the best decision from all the data you can basically gather. So yes, I do agree that the people are more important. But I do think organizations should be also regarded as their own units as well.
Okay, do we have any questions from the audience speaking about career development, and maybe you would like to hear some practical tips if you are now being prepared to apply for your bachelor degree or master degree or PhD? Maybe, anybody? Yeah, please, can we? Yep.
Well, I love hearing scholars engaging in conversations and interaction, and I just want to voice out something. Now we are talking about environment, and when we're talking about environment, it's made up of humans. And when you're talking of humans, you're talking of interactions with humans, not with machines or AI. So now that takes me to this subject we've been talking about, AI. Now, B.F. Skinner, in his theory on learning, said something that is in conditioning. And that takes me to this AI, that this AI are being conditioned based on the programmer. And just like when Jakub was talking, you were repeatedly making mention of skepticism. You know, you're being skeptical maybe about the effect of AI. Now, bringing AI and humanity on board, which is the subject of discussion, knowing that AI doesn't have this feeling, how would we be able to function in an environment where people live and where we are supposed to have these interactions with humans and have productivities by collaborating with humans? Instead, AI is taking over the whole talk of the day. So how are we supposed to manage this situation or this, not pandemic, but for me, I think it's going to swallow us without knowing it. But I don't know when it's going to be, because it's going to take the humanistic interaction and communication away, gearing it towards AI. So it is my concern, and I would want the scholars on board to maybe speak more on it. Thank you.
Who would like to take this one?
You can all say something. You want to start?
Oh, you can.
Well, it certainly is my concern. Everyone, I suppose that those days everyone sometimes lies in bed and thinks about the scenario when the AI takes over and what's going to happen, how to subdue it and how to coexist and what happens. And we heard today talks about having it have some legal rights, and we have heard about ethics. And I'm not really fooling myself, or maybe that's naive, maybe I should be thinking the other way around, maybe that's going to change. But currently, at least, I'm not really fooling myself that I will have any actual decision, globally at least, to make whether how it's going to play out globally. But at least I'm going to do everything in my power to make AI, as it was said today, I think, more our assistant, more something that we're gonna, because it's already happening, right? We're already having AI interplaying with our lives and helping us. And I think we're missing how much it has already infiltrated our lives. We just have to be very careful about what do we... I think it all has to start with redefining what do we actually mean by intelligence, and with being very careful about not crossing this line, and with being very careful about putting power in correct hands. And that is actually something that scares me the most, which is how powerless I personally feel when it comes to big companies. And I don't know, I know this sounds very generic when it's spoken out loud, like, oh, OpenAI is such a big company, I have no power over it. But I don't know, I personally feel like this. And I can talk to scholars, and I can talk to everyday people and owners of companies, and we can all agree that we all want to use AI, we want to explore the ethics, we want to, I don't know, how autonomous driving, or use it for medicine or for space explorations or for anything really. But in the end, at the end of the day, what's actually going to happen, I'm not sure. If I would want it to be sentient, it sounds scary. Maybe I don't yet know what I'm talking about, but I would like this to be decided by some collectiveness, not by 1 or 2 or 3 companies. How to manage that? I hope we could all agree on something, and again, not have it be made by 1 or 2 or 3 companies. What do you think?
Do you want to go? Okay. I genuinely think that, considering what has been already said, OpenAI is indeed a tool. And for now, this is the major tool which is shaping the not only business industry, but all the other industries that are in the world. And yeah, it's been given too much power, in my opinion, because the main shareholder, actually, of OpenAI is, that's why I am kind of skeptical. The main shareholder, I'm pretty sure it's 40% or something along those lines, is Microsoft. All the other parts are taken, for instance, by Silicon Valley officials. So this way, the basically American government is in a hold of one of the most powerful tools in the world. And yes, we can make decisions with it. But the thing about that, we have to analyze how truthful, or I really hate the word truth, actually, because that's another thing, but how reliable to us that truly is in terms of making decisions. And I don't know the true answer to that, because I don't think we are at that point yet where so many digital tools have been developed so they can somehow replace the main one. There is, for instance, Google Gemini, but that's Google as well. So let's just say politics and the things that want to be conveyed are also at my concern. So we'll see how it goes on as time passes by. But as said before, I think it should be definitely a tool in making decisions.
And I have just 3 seconds for a closing remark. Thank you so much for your attendance to this session. Thank you so much, and big applause to our speakers. Thank you very, very much, and we hope to see you again at next iterations of this event sometime in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jakub.
Thank you.